It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra. One more time for old time's sake. With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law, live audio wrestling. And let's go, we're now smoking with the best.
Welcome back. It's hour 2 of The Law, and that means we head to San Jose to chat with the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Hello, Dave Meltzer.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, Dave. So what did you enjoy less tonight? The TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view or the San Jose Sharks losing the Stanley Cup?
What I enjoyed least would be the Sharks.
The Sharks.
Yeah, of
okay.
course.
But let's talk about Slammiversary because we've covered hockey on this station already. What'd you think tonight, Dave?
I mean, it was. I would like to. I think that they need to hit a home run, and I don't think they hit a home run. I thought the first half of the show wasn't particularly good, and there were some matches that had no business being there. There were a couple matches. I mean, the effort in the last couple matches was pretty good, so it was all right. But it wasn't. It's like when you're the underdog, so to speak. You kind of have to do better shows or as good a shows as the main companies. And if you compare this to Ring of Honor or WWE or NXT, I mean, it's really well below it. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't what they need to be to stand out in this marketplace.
Yeah, it's really kind of tough, Dave, when you've got, Matt and Jeff Hardy out there doing these crazy stunts. They're busting their asses, and the audience is really just kind of sitting there.
Well, look where they were and the day. I knew it was going to be tough.
Right. Of course.
People in their heads are at best are going to be 20% into the show.
Right.
It was a bad day and a bad, so that didn't help. The other thing that I think hurts a lot is I think that the crowd that they get at Universal, I think most of them don't watch the TV.
Yeah.
They're park goers that are kind of recruited in. So, if you have Matt and Jeff Hardy to a degree, the people will know them, but Matt Hardy looks different, and they don't know the storyline.
Right.
So it's kind of like why is Matt fighting
Why are they fighting
Jeff?
each other? Yeah.
And then so many of the undercard people they don't even know. So a lot of those matches the people just didn't care about.
There's a lot of chatter a couple weeks ago about TNA being up for sale. And there was a report that was put out tonight on pwinsider.com about Billy Corgan being an investor into TNA. Do you have any word on this, Dave?
I heard the story. I don't know if it's true or not. I've been asked about it, but I don't know that that's.
It's a minority ownership, is what the story says.
So it's not,
and it's Mike Johnson reporting it on pwinsider.com. And it doesn't really have that many details, but for the amount of money that Corgan would have from his music and the interest that he has, and now kind of being pushed as one of the faces of the company as well, I can see it making sense.
Yeah, I mean, he was there on the show.
Yeah.
It buys them time, but that's not what they need, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's there, and maybe. I mean, it wouldn't shock me that he put some money in. I mean, they were talking to him about investing in ECW, and that was 20 years ago.
Long time ago. Yeah, exactly.
And he's a lot more in this than he is in ECW, so it makes sense.
I just hope it doesn't.
I don't know that it's a great investment.
I just hope it doesn't mean that he goes on TV more, because I think he has no charisma. Like that segment tonight, I thought he was terrible in that segment tonight on the pay-per-view. For a guy that's a frontman in a band, he doesn't seem to have much charisma.
Well, he's got charisma in a different way, but it didn't. Yeah, I mean, when he comes out, whenever he comes out on it, it's like we're supposed to know who he is because he's kind of a celebrity, but it doesn't really fit on a wrestling show. It's just not. He doesn't have like an Eric Bischoff or something like that, where they come out and they're a wrestling performer. It's just I mean, it'd probably be like if I was doing it, it'd probably be terrible too. It's like he doesn't have. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Dave, I think you'd kill it.
Yeah, I think you'd be fine too, Dave.
instant heel from all the years of reporting.
That's right. Exactly.
Dave,
hey, I'm a babyface at PWG.
That's true. You are there. So, but I mean, maybe to the WWE perhaps.
Probably would be.
Yes, TNA exactly. I think could be a heel.
Yeah, no problem.
But the problem is that the truth is a heel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like. I mean, in reality, I wouldn't be, but in Fantasy Island, I would probably have to be. Yeah.
Let's switch on over here. Last week we were talking about the news of Brock Lesnar, of course, coming back to UFC. Mark Hunt is his opponent. It was announced on Monday. We've talked about the dangers of Mark Hunt and his knockout power, and of course we don't know how the fight is going to go. But on one side here, Vince McMahon agreeing to let Lesnar go into the octagon is one thing. Agreeing to let him fight Mark Hunt, to me, is it just
Crazy.
a matter of ignorance, or why? How would this come about, do you think?
I don't know, but if you're going to ask my gut feeling,
yes.
I think that he got swerved.
In regards
I think that they
to
probably presented to him, hey, look, he's 42 years old and he's 12-10, and they don't know better, and they got swerved. I think that's what happened.
Maybe we see this in the new season of Swerved. That would be pretty. Well, Dave, there's got to be. Are they what are they getting out of it? There's this talk of Paige Van Zandt and stuff, but I mean, is that really worth sacrificing Brock?
I'm sure that there's money involved, and that's worth it from a financial standpoint to the company. But still, I mean, do you want? It really tells the public in some ways that one guy's the major league and one guy's the minor league, and I always thought that Vince would never want to be that guy, because essentially what happened is they, you don't know how this is going to end up, but the most likely scenario is that they took, WWE's best guy, most over guy, or second most over at worst, but when he comes out and Cena comes out, he's got something Cena doesn't have.
Yeah.
Even though Cena's like the face of the company, Brock's still like the superstar of the company. And they basically bought him to put their own guy over, Mark Hunt, who's not even a top guy, and it just kind of makes, it creates a situation where one guy looks major league and one guy doesn't because you're giving up your top guy. It'd be, it's hard to explain, but it was like, how hard UFC fought to avoid Nick Diaz fighting, just as an example, boxing. Because that was like the swerve of the boxing people offering Nick Diaz a ton of money to make UFC look bad by doing that. And Dana has done this once before, if you remember the Randy Couture-James Toney fight, where he offered a boxer a lot of money to make the boxer look bad because, in an MMA fight, James Toney wasn't really going to have much of a shot against Randy Couture.
Well, I think this will all be equaled out at WrestleMania when Ronda Rousey taps out to Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, jeez.
Here's the thing. Even if Brock does lose this, we've talked about the fact that it won't necessarily, kill his drawing power all that much. And someone that proved
it depends on how it goes.
Yeah, but someone who proved that, you can lose and still be a draw is, of course.
You can lose. There's different kinds of losses. You go back and forth. If he has a great fight and he loses a decision, that won't hurt him at all. I mean, if he gets Bart gunned, with Butterbean, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
What a great reference. Let's talk about Kimbo Slice, Dave. Of course, we've already spoken about his passing here on the show. But do you believe that the passing of Kimbo at 42 years old will have an effect on Bellator's business model in regards to the way that they book these freak show fights?
It won't have an effect on what they are doing, but will have a great effect because now they don't have somebody who can give them that kind of numbers. So they won't be able to do as much. Although I'm wondering, I was thinking James Thompson was probably going to beat Kimbo. And I don't know how many more fights Kimbo would have after that. Not that Kimbo can't afford a loss because he can, or he could, so to speak. But I think that it hurts in the sense that Ken Shamrock's really done. I mean, I know people thought that for 15 years practically, but he really is now. I mean, after that Hoist Gracie fight and then testing positive, I just think he's done. I don't think there's anything left you can do with him. And he and Kimbo were the two big draws, along with Hoist. And with Hoist, I don't know who you put Hoist against that would make any sense. Maybe, I suppose if you brought Frank Shamrock out of retirement, but I don't know that Frank Shamrock even wants to fight. So it's like, so it's going to change just because you don't have those. what do you do? Even if you want to do that, you don't really have anyone you can do it with anymore.
Do you see Bellator making a big play for Dan Henderson? Last fight Henderson had was the last on his UFC contract. He won. He's someone that fans do adore. He's not at the freak show level of the Shamrock and such. It's a guy that can still fight, but is definitely a name that people love.
I think that they would make an effort to get him, but I think that if UFC is going to put Michael Bisping against Dan Henderson, that Bellator will have no chance of getting him.
Do you think that's happened? That was my next question. Do you think that we're leading to that for New York?
I don't know, but I know that that's what Michael Bisping wants, and the champion's got a prerogative. I think it'll be tough to justify when you've got some great contenders. Rockhold's a great contender. I know you can say he's coming off a loss, and he is. Weidman also coming off of a loss, but is also a great contender. And Jacare's got
coming off.
He's won whatever it is, 8 out of 9 or something like that. And the one that he lost, he really won. I mean, so it'd be really hard to justify not giving it to Jacare. But Dan Henderson is more marketable and means we'll sell more, and that's what Bisping's looking for. But so I don't, again, that's a UFC decision. I couldn't make that decision because, if I'm going for maximum money and that's my goal, I almost go to Anderson Silva. Everyone's getting mad when I say that, but I think Anderson Silva beats Dan Henderson for sure now. So he's a better contender, and I know that Anderson Silva and Bisping's a great fight because I saw it once, and it was a close fight. Mm-hmm. And if Bisping wants to do a stadium show, I think that Anderson Silva name means more than Henderson. I mean, a stadium show in the UK. But if you go with Anderson Silva hasn't won a match in a long time, he's had this gallbladder surgery. He maybe won't be ready. I could see him picking Dan Henderson because he's got that revenge for UFC 100. So I can see him wanting it. But if you're UFC, how do you justify bypassing Jacare for him? You can, what I'm saying. You can bypass Jacare for Weidman or Rockhold. But for Henderson, I think it's tougher.
Well, I mean, you could do. I mentioned this last week. I mean, you could put Jacare back into the ring, or into the octagon with Romero as well, because he had the loss there to Romero.
What might be interesting is Rockhold Romero, Weidman Jacare.
Rockhold Belfort. There's your natural grudge match there.
You could do Rockhold, and yeah, you could do that now, and it is a natural grudge match. Yeah. I think Rockhold, the last time I talked to him, he thought he was kind of past it, but he's coming off a loss. Maybe it's the best thing for him.
He would look very dominant at this point. I find that to be a fascinating division at this. There are so many moving parts in that division and so many guys in that cluster. The middleweight division is I'm very much fascinated with it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just touch on this. So in my hand right now, Dave, I have an Eric Bischoff DVD. It is a 3-disc set, and Eric Bischoff is all over this. We saw Teddy Long return on Monday night. Do you foresee Eric Bischoff popping onto WWE TV?
I mean, if I'm WWE, I think so, because if you're going to put Teddy Long out there, and the other people you would put out would be Vicky Guerrero, and
Laurinaitis,
Paul Mercanen.
I don't think I can find him. Laurinaitis, of course.
I love how that got the exact same reaction from you that we did here.
Exactly. That's funny. Just one other quick thing, too, Dave, I wanted to mention. We talked about Ospreay and Ricochet's match from the Super Juniors. We had the finals this week. It was Ospreay and the Funky Weapon, Taguchi. Awesome match, and completely different for Ospreay from what he did with Ricochet. In fact, I think I liked this match even more than the match with Ricochet.
Well, I mean, it's just a different match, so it's a matter of taste.
Yeah.
I liked the Ricochet match because it was one of a kind. Mm-hmm. Whereas this match, I think in many ways Ospreay was better in this match than he was in the Ricochet match.
I agree. Yeah.
But Ricochet to me is better than Taguchi. But it's like, look, if your taste is a realistic match where winning and losing is the prime objective, as a tournament final, the Taguchi match is the better match for sure. But if you're just looking for mind-blowing moves, obviously the other one's the better match.
But Ospreay selling in this match with Taguchi, though, I mean, it was fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. That springboard with one leg.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw that and the way he does that, and he did that in the Kushida match too, stuff like that. It's like this guy is if he doesn't get hurt, this guy might be one of the best of the era.
Very, very talented for how young he is.
23 years
Yeah.
old. I saw him at 22 because I probably just started watching him when he had the match with Okada. So that's maybe a year and a half ago. I don't remember from England. And he was great then. And then I saw him in PWG, and it was like, you've been wrestling for 3 years. I mean, I have seen so few guys that good that early.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Kurt, but even so, this guy can do stuff that Kurt could never do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a great finish to the tournament.
Yeah. You know what? It was really a great tournament. It was the best Super Juniors in years.
Mm-hmm.
What's coming up in the Observer this week, Dave?
Double issue for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more on Ali and things like that. The Ali Act, which has nothing to do with which bears his name. Coverage of the TNA show tonight. The WWE stuff, which we didn't talk about. They made you 20 pay-per-views in a year. Scares me to death.
Are they splitting them?
What?
Are they splitting them?
It's the story. Jerry Lawler said that apparently at an appearance that they were going to do two pay-per-views a month except for 4 months of the year where they'll only do one. So it's 20 total.
That's terrible.
That's insane. Oh, no, it's going to go back to this pay-per-view every week thing like we had in the heyday there.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but the difference is wrestling was super, super popular.
It was hot then, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember between ECW and WWE and WCW, basically every single Sunday there was a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But it's like wrestling. Now, and also the difference is now we have all that free TV that we didn't have, those long, the 3-hour show and everything. But I think that one of the biggest problems with WWE right now is they're producing too much content. So unless you're like a super, super fan that it's your life, and then they're satisfying you, it's too much for you, and then that's where people drop off. And then adding more hours, I think that you're just asking for people to just
That's
go
crazy.
too much.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Well, thank you very much for that update, and we will chat with you next week at this very same time after a WWE pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, next week.
Well, at least that Money in the Bank. You hear that show? It's like they're trying to make it like another WrestleMania.
That's what they're saying.
Greatest Money in the Bank ever. Hey, you know what though? Those top two matches may be absolutely fantastic.
All right, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And let's all keep the fingers crossed for it. Wait, we're going to say Cesaro, but we have another hope. Just say.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you next week, Dave. Thanks very much.
Okay, have a great week.
WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all of the news that Dave talks about in his podcast as well.